And so what do we need to do to make sure our patients are safe? So Mike, do you want to talk about the CDC guidelines?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, Mary's probably the expert. The only thing this slide shows is 33 state boards require CDC compliance as law at some level. This is all available on our website. But the CDC basically says 4 things. You got to train your staff so they know that bugs grow in water lines. You have to treat your water lines. It's not enough to put distilled water into your water bottles. You got to test your water lines. They don't tell you how often. They just say check with the manufacturer. And then you got to use sterile water for surgery. And that's pretty much what the CDC guidelines say about dental water lines. Next slide.
You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mary, jump in anywhere, please.
Well, and I think, as I said in the beginning, a lot of people think that, when we're talking about shocking the water lines, that it's something new because of COVID, but it's not. But many people just took it for granted that all they had to do was drop the tablet in and fill up the water bottle and they're good to go, not reading product manufacturing or directions, instructions for use that all recommend doing some type of a shock treatment, no matter what kind of a system that you have. So this is another thing that you need to be, I think, leveraging with your patients when you're bringing them back into the practice after you've opened back up. I would, let them know that we've done a special shock treatment on our water lines to make sure that everything is just as safe as it can be for you, even though COVID isn't transmittable as far as we know in the water. We've shocked the water system anyway to make sure it's even safer for you.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary. That's good.
Yeah.
So this is the 3 pillars, and that basically we just went over. The CDC says use sterile water for surgery and use it from a sterile source. That means disposable lines if possible, or a dap and dish. And don't put sterile water into your dental unit water lines because they're not sterile anymore.
Right.
But for routine procedures, just regular irrigation, you want to fill your independent reservoirs, and you want to make sure that the water that comes out of them meets the standard of 500 CFU or less. And that's compliance. That's on the far right. So sterile water for surgery, drinking water for regular dentistry, and verify that it's safe. There's about 5 slides in here, Tiger. You can go through them kind of quickly. I think they're all the same, essentially.
I think Kelley wanted to add something. No?
Yeah.
I was just going to talk about the documentation. I mean, I think that's just critical. I was a nurse for several years, and I know if I didn't document it, it didn't happen. So that's, and water lines often get overlooked, but I tell you what, if an office gets inspected, that is one thing that they look for right away is that documentation. So just critical to have that proof that what you're doing is working, and the way you do that is by testing and keeping that documentation.
That's a good point. Mary, how many times have you said the word document?
Right.
Oh, a gazillion, because in a legal sense and in the terms of a regulatory sense with OSHA or complying with CDC guidelines, if you haven't documented, they consider it to not have been done.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and I get a lot of questions from people, well, how do we document? Well, you can simply create a log. Sometimes OSHA manuals, compliance manuals that you might purchase or develop have logs in them that you can record. The other thing for folks that are using an in-office testing system, I tell them just make sure that your date stamp is on your phone camera program or a digital camera. Take a picture of it that's got the date on it, the results, and save it in a file. That's what better documentation.
Great idea.
That's a great idea. Yeah,
Mary,
absolutely.
That is a really good idea. Plus, we do have a log that's downloadable on our website for our in-office test. But I love the date and time.
But that picture is important. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.